Dear dignitaries, students, teachers, parents, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Before we start tonight's program, I would like to say a few words of welcome and thanks. We're very honored to have with us tonight the Undersecretary of Home and Youth Affairs, Mr. Clarence Lang-Ting. We very much appreciate your presence and the government's support over all these years and are grateful that you could take time out of your busy schedule to join us. We're also grateful to the Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, which is represented by Ms. Gu Pan and Ms. Chen Wenjing. We're delighted to have with us the Consul General of the State of Israel in Hong Kong, Mr. Amrilati, and the Deputy Consul General of the French Republic, Monsieur Aubin. And I want to say a huge thank you to the English School Foundation, the South Island School, Principal Helen Thu and Vice Principal Lucy Purvis for opening this wonderful venue to us. Students from SIS will perform the music, and students from different schools around Hong Kong will lead the candle dedications. I find it very inspiring to see so many young students participating in this event. That's what we want. We work closely with ESF schools and many others throughout the year in different subjects and different age groups, with educational programs designed to foster tolerance, respect, and understanding among different communities. And there's much we can learn from the past. I also want to express my most sincere gratitude to Cathay Pacific Airways, who so generously made it possible for our keynote speaker, Madame Larissa Cain, and her son Olivier to travel from Paris to Hong Kong. On behalf of the Hong Kong Holocaust and Tolerance Center, I want to warmly welcome you all to the United Nations Holocaust Memorial Day Commemoration. It is a great joy to see so many people in the audience who are attending this commemoration for the first time. After the opening speeches, we will invite Madame Cain to share her testimony, which will be followed by music, the candle dedications, and a minute of silence to the victims of the Holocaust, as well as a prayer. The prayer will be recited by Rabbi David Kudan, who arrived in Hong Kong a few months ago to lead one of the Jewish congregations in our city and kindly agreed to be with us tonight. So Rabbi Kudan, thank you and welcome. We gather tonight to pay tribute to over 6 million Jews murdered during the Shoah. We will hear the testimony of a survivor of the Warsaw Ghetto, who personally lived through the horrors of the war and the genocide against the Jewish people, survived against all odds, who bears witness to what happened, and who at age 93 traveled all the way from France to come to talk to us. Madame Cain, a native speaker of Polish and French, even took English lessons in preparation for tonight. To be able to see the Holocaust through one person's life story, alive and in color, and not as an abstract account in black and white, is a real privilege and opportunity. Madame Cain, thank you for being here. But the Warsaw Ghetto, what was that? In late 1940, the Germans, who had attacked and occupied Poland a year before, decided to create a special zone in central Warsaw, where all the Jews would be forced to live, or more accurately, to slowly die in. Over 450,000 Jews were cramped into the small district, living in appalling conditions of famine, disease, and death. The ghetto existed until 1943. It was completely destroyed after the Nazis had brutally crushed the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising of April and May 1943, a last-ditch resistance effort by Jewish civilians to stave off the inevitable. The most famous image of the Shoah, the little boy raising his arms, was taken at that time in Warsaw. The thousands of ghettos created by the Nazis in Poland and in territories that are now Ukraine, Belarus, and Lithuania were a precursor to industrial-scale genocide. The Warsaw Ghetto was the largest one of these ghettos. I want to mention two terms that will appear in Madame Cain's testimony. One term is the Großaktion, and the other term is Treblinka. The Großaktion was a euphemism used by the Germans referring to a mass deportation of Jews from the ghettos by cattle cars on trains to designated extermination camps, of which 6 were built in total. And Treblinka was the place where these trains from Warsaw arrived at. It was a place not far from Warsaw, but located on the main railway lines, and yet remotely enough to be out of sight, especially from curious local farmers who wondered why all these trains kept arriving with people but leaving empty. The Jews were told that Treblinka was just a transit camp, so as not to arouse their suspicion or worry. This was done to hide the shocking truth that from Treblinka, nobody departed alive. For this camp had almost no barracks or facilities to house people, not even temporarily. It was designed for Jews to be murdered by the tens of thousands upon arrival, hour by hour, day by day. By late 1943, Treblinka had served its purpose. The Nazis closed it because it had run out of Jews to kill. Between 880,000 and 925,000 Jews were murdered there, along with some 2,000 Romani. To give an indication of the genocidal intent, the Germans had the camp dug up, all the bones and human remains burned and crushed, and the ashes scattered in the river nearby. The Jewish prisoners, forced to do this gruesome task, were then murdered themselves, leaving no trace or witness behind. Today, nothing remains but a memorial. The Holocaust tore a hole into the heart of Europe, which was once the place where most Jews lived. It took with it countless talents, dreams, aspirations, and the love and hopes of millions. May the suffering and the pain of those who perished be an inspiration for us to do better in our time and to serve as a warning against intolerance, racism, and anti-Semitism. Through education, empathy, and interest in each other, we can make a difference. We have our own share of problems and challenges, but we can accentuate what brings us together as humans and not dwell on what sets us apart. It is now my honor to invite the Undersecretary for Home and Youth Affairs, Mr. Clarence Long, to come to the stage and deliver his remarks. Mr. Long, please.
Thank you, Dr. Volt, Excellencies, Ms. Cain, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. First of all, I would like to thank our host, the Hong Kong Holocaust and Tolerance Center, for organizing this event on the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. With the center's arrangements, we will soon meet a Holocaust survivor, Ms. Larissa Cain, in the upcoming session. And thank you for having me here this evening. I studied economics at university. I worked in business for years before joining the government. I used to deal with figures, models, formulas, calculations. I tended to believe that economics and rational choices can explain a lot of things until it hits the wall. The Holocaust is in many ways inexplicable to me. The cruelty and atrocity are inexcusable. Those who lent the perpetrators a hand or turned a blind eye were indefensible. The camp guards and staff could enjoy quality time with the families after a day's work was incomprehensible. The suffocation and suffering forced onto the victims and their families were intolerable. In some, the loss was incalculable. In business, when we lose money, we shut a shop, we close a production line, and change our strategies to find new opportunities. Hopefully, the loss would never see the light of day again, and we call it a write-off in business. The Holocaust is different. It cannot and shouldn't ever be written off. One reason is because in those darkest hours, there are still flashes of flickering light. Many ordinary men and women took great risks to offer hiding places, food and clothes to strangers in dire need. So invaluable is their compassion and courage that others could hold on to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We read economics to learn to count the valuable. We remember history not to discount the invaluable. The Holocaust offers a tragic yet profound lesson that we must bear in mind. For we can only create a better future by curbing discrimination, cultivating empathy, and championing peace. And the work of this center is so instrumental to this. Taking on the mission of advancing tolerance in our city and the surrounding regions, the center has been tirelessly launching public education, which include conducting seminars, organizing film screenings, and hosting visits by Holocaust survivors. In a moment, we will hear the story of Ms. Cain's, one of the voices once silenced by the genocide. Last year, I think the Chinese people also had great sufferings. We also experienced genocide and massacres during Second World War. Last year, we commemorated the 80th anniversary of our victory against Japanese aggression and the world's victory in the war against fascism. We vow to remember history. We vow to remember those who passed away during the brutal war. And we vow to not to repeat history again. Right now, we are entering yet another historic inflection point. And I believe that our city can make some valuable contribution to fostering empathy and inclusiveness by showing how people from different religious faiths can live side by side in harmony. The Hong Kong government has taken forward various initiatives spanning areas such as deepening interfaith exchanges, promoting inclusion of ethnic minorities, and advancing women empowerment. And we should count on support from all sectors of our society, including followers of all faiths, in building a diverse and harmonious community for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm John Abel. I'm Vice Chair of the Hong Kong Holocaust and Tolerance Centre, and I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening. It's a great turnout, and we really appreciate it. I'd now like to invite the Consul General of Israel, Mr. Amir Lati, to make some remarks on behalf of the State of Israel.
Honorable Clarence Leung, Undersecretary for Home and Youth Affairs of the Hong Kong SAR, Ms. Gu Pang, Deputy Director of General Affairs Division of the Consular Department of the Office of the Commissioner of the Foreign Ministry of the People's Republic of China in Hong Kong SAR, dear colleagues from the Diplomatic Corps, Mrs. Larissa Cain and her family, board members of the Hong Kong Holocaust and Tolerance Center, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Exactly 81 years ago, the front units of the Soviet Red Army reached the gates of Auschwitz, liberating the prisoners from the infamous concentration and extermination camp. Today, we gather to mark the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, a memorial day designated by the United Nations in 2005 following an Israeli diplomatic initiative to call for global remembrance, education, and a shared commitment to prevent future atrocities. The events of recent years have only amplified the importance of this day. In many countries, anti-Semitic incidents have risen sharply since October 7. The year 2025 was among the deadliest in recent memory. At least 20 people were murdered in anti-Semitic attack in Washington, D.C., Boulder, Colorado, Manchester, United Kingdom, and most recently in Sydney, Australia. A recent report by the Anti-Defamation League revealed that 20% of the respondents worldwide have never heard of the Holocaust, and that 46% of the world's adult population harbor deeply entrenched anti-Semitic attitudes. This figure is more than double than the findings of the ADL's first global survey that took place a decade ago. This year, I wish to devote my remarks to a personal story, one that reflects in my eyes both the tragedy of the Holocaust, but also the resurrection of the Jewish people in our historic motherland. In the late 1990s, as a student in the Hebrew universities in Jerusalem, I attended a course on the rise of Asia's economic miracles. The lecturer was Dr. Ambassador Jacob Cohen, a retired diplomat of Israel's foreign ministry. He was a very serious man, he rarely smiled, and it took me years to learn the extraordinary story of his life, with some of it I will share now with you in his own words. I was born in May 1st, 1930, in Chortkov, Poland, as Konrad Kohn, known by my nickname Kuba. When I came to Israel, I changed my name to Yaakov in memory of my father, who was murdered together with my mother on the night of December 8, 1943, in the village of Globocek. That night, we were hiding in a granary. A German SS officer, accompanied by a Ukrainian and an informant, discovered us. The Ukrainian ordered us to all undress and put our clothes on the side. The Nazi officer shot each of my parents in the head. I, a young boy, standing naked in the freezing snow, saw everything. Apparently, they didn't want to waste a bullet on me, so the German and the Ukrainian stabbed me with the bayonets affixed to the rifles. After they left, and some time has passed, it felt like an eternity to me. I picked my bleeding self up and crawled, walked, and stumbled toward the place where my uncle and aunt were hiding. We spent the rest of the war hiding in the forests of Poland. At 17 years old, I boarded a ship carrying orphans to Israel. Soon after I arrived, I joined the newly formed army. Many of us, orphans of the Holocaust, fought in Israel's War of Independence. Many fell in battle, including here in Jerusalem. I became an officer. I married Rachel, herself the daughter of a Jewish German Supreme Court judge from Berlin dismissed by the Nazis, and joined the foreign ministry, serving as Israel ambassador in various countries. The memory of the Holocaust has never left me. I will always remember my parents, my relatives, and the millions who did not survive. Their absence is etched in my eyes, in the sadness that has accompanied me all my life. My place is here in Israel, where I've lived since coming from Europe, and where I will be buried overlooking Jerusalem, the city that sustained my dreams during the Holocaust and remains the heart of our people. On October 7, when I heard the Jews were being slaughtered again, I trembled. Words cannot capture the horror and pain, especially of us Holocaust survivors. The state of Israel was established so that the Holocaust would never happen again, and yet 7 of October happened. The only thing I can keep on saying is that we have to keep doing and giving to our society and country. We can still build a new world full of love to the people and to the country. 6 months ago, Dr. Cohen passed away, only a few months after his beloved wife Rachel passed away. They left no children, no close family. Both of them are buried in the mountains overlooking Jerusalem.
Thank you for sharing such a personal, harrowing story. I'd now like to invite to the stage the Deputy Consul General of France, Mr. Benjamin Hubin. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, First of all, please allow me to thank sincerely the Hong Kong Holocaust and Tolerance Center for organizing tonight's inspiring event. On this United Nations Holocaust Memorial Day commemoration, it is my great privilege and honor to introduce to all of you Mrs. Larissa Cain, a personality who has dedicated her life to convey the story of those who have been silenced so that their memory may not be forgotten. Mrs. Larissa Cain, born in Sosnowiec in Poland, was still a child when her and her family were imprisoned in the Warsaw Ghetto. I will stop short of telling her story, as she will in a moment do so much better than I could hopefully do. I will say, however, that the post-war years brought her to France, where she was able to resume her education, to become a dental surgeon, and to establish and found a family. For more than 40 years, she has dedicated her life to educate the younger generation, to speak in schools such as this one, in universities as well as public forums, to prolong the memory so that this can endure. She is also the author of many books on her own experience as a child in the Warsaw Ghetto. This commitment was recently awarded by the Legion of Honor, the highest possible distinction in France. If I may share personal comments, which I think will echo those which have just been shared by the previous speakers, I believe this story, as well as the many ceremonies that we attend every year on the remembrance of Holocaust, echo the words of an important European thinker who said that two things inspire our minds and fill our minds with wonder and awe. These two things are the contemplation of the sky above us, because this creates a sense of infinity and in a way annihilates our importance as mere human beings. And the second thing that fills our minds with awe is the fact that we are able to identify within ourselves the very concept of what is good, the concept of moral. Because this, in a way, expands our own importance as beings that are able to give meaning to the world that surrounds us. And to me, this story and the remembrance of the Holocaust produces the exact same feeling. The fact that we contemplate the suffering of previous generations fills our minds with this feeling of infinity, that we are mere human beings whose life can be crushed. But at the same time, the fact that we gather every year to commemorate these victims, these survivors, as well as the fact that we shape our societies around concepts of dignity, tolerance, as well as fundamental liberties, demonstrates that we are able indeed to shape our societies and that we are still driven by hope and the will to live together. Mrs. Larissa Cain, in this way, reminds us that remembrance is not only about the past, it is indeed about the future. France fully embodies and endorses this responsibility. We are very proud that we were just agreed by the member states of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the rotating presidency of this important group in 2027. Against the backdrop of constant attempts to distort history and the dramatic resurgence of anti-Semitism, we are committed to continuing to take forward this duty of remembrance, to combat anti-Semitism and any shape of discrimination, because these undermine the very unity of our societies, our rights, and the dignity of all. Thank you very much for your attention, and please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mrs. Larissa Cain.
So, very warm welcome. Thank you very, very much. It is an immense honor to have you with us here. And I know you have traveled a very, very long way. So we're very, very warm welcome here in Hong Kong. In 1939, there were 400,000 Jews in Warsaw. At the end of the war, 99% had disappeared. You have escaped and are here to testify to the next generation, because it is important that this story is not forgotten. In the last few months, we have had many discussions together. And you mentioned that all this happened in 3 stages, which you wanted us to remember actually. The first one was the invasion in September 1939. But after the invasion, you said it was very important to remember that Nazi Germans wanted to mark the Jews and ask them to wear armbands to identify them as Jews. A bit later, as it was said earlier in the previous speeches, a ghetto was put in place, which is a walled part of the city. You can have maybe the image there. And the Jews could not come in or could not come out. And then eventually, the Jews were rounded up and deported to Treblinka. So this was the order. You said that all the Jews had to get into the ghetto, but you were lucky that your house was in the original heart of what the ghetto became. Could you tell us about the first months or days of the ghetto and your house? How would you remember the original few months in the ghetto?
Yes. I mean, thank you for inviting me to Hong Kong. And please excuse my bad English. You know, I was a very happy child. I was born in Poland, and I have a very nice parents. I was the only child, and they cherished me deeply. And I was a very active child. I ran with a rope, and I was jumping. I was a very happy child. And my father, when I was 5 years old, taught me poems in English, in Yiddish. And when we have guests in our apartment, family or friends, I was put standing on a chair, and I recited the poems in
Yiddish.
in Yiddish. Yes. So you see, and they are so happy. They applaud me. And kiss me, and the happiness rubbed off on me, and I think that goes with me during all the war. And
your house? You were talking about your house? I said your house in the ghetto?
Yes, but you know, we are speaking, and of course, the ghetto is one thing, and not only one ghetto. It was 400 ghettos in the country occupied by the Germans. But the ghetto was the second step before Treblinka. This first step was an armed armband,
yes.
White with blue, with a star blue. And I saw my parents having it on. And I was surprised. But this was to separate, to begin to separate us from the population Polish. And so, after that, the second step was the ghetto, what you said. And you know, this was the absolute separation from the people, no Jewish. And the carte là.
Oui. I think there's a map. We can't see it, but there is a map of the ghetto here. Là, on la voit là un peu.
Ah yes,
Yeah.
this is the map. But you really have not the three, because there are two ghettos.
Yes, yes. There is the other map. We can show maybe the other map here.
Ah, this one. Yes, please. You know, the Nazis put us in the ghetto, but not one, in two, the big and the small one. Do you see do you see that here? And my parents and I, we lived in the small ghetto. And that began the hunger began. It was terrible in the ghetto. People died from the hunger, you imagine. It was terrible. Yeah, there's a lot of beggars. This was terrible to have something to eat. The bread was something, and you are not closed in the ghetto to do nothing. There was an organization of camp of work inside the ghetto. And my parents, they worked in Monsieur Tobens, who came from Germany. He opened a factory of uniform of soldiers. You imagine that during the war it was a good business. And my parents, they had to work there. And you know, the work was in two shifts.
Two shifts. Shifts.
Shifts. 12 hours during the day and 12 hours during the night. The 7 days of the week. And this when the camp of Treblinka was ready, they organized inside the ghetto a roundup for gather people and sending them to Treblinka. And it was said, these people are sent to camp of work. You see how fake news it was. It was the camp of extermination.
And this is the gross action, right?
And this is the gross action, yes. This is the gross action, and
they came to your house.
Yeah,
right?
yes. And one day, I was very ill. I had a dysentery, a terrible dysentery. And my parents and I, we lived on the fourth and last floor of the house. And I was in bed, I was lying. And my mother was, my father went to Tobens, and my mother stayed with me. And she kept my hand, and we couldn't move. The policemen, the soldiers, they are in the cour, comment tu dis, dans la cour.
In the courtyard.
In the
Courtyard.
quarter. So, and they said, raus, raus. And people had to go down to be gathered and sent to the train. But we couldn't move. And after gathering some people, they inspected the apartment if someone is hidden inside. So they went, the soldiers, you know, the steps like this, they go up to the first floor apartment. People, they found people hidden, they were shot. After the first floor, they went to the second. And you see, you hear the steps of the soldiers. After, they went to the third one. And my mother and I suppose I couldn't move. And they went to the third floor. They killed the people there. And they did not go to the fourth.
It saved you.
Where there was lying in bed. So you see, it was a terrible life. But what is more terrible is the fake news they diffused that people who worked for the German, in the factory for German, would not be sent to
Camps.
to this camp very loin, very
Far.
very far. So another fake news, and they said that people who works for them will not be deported.
But your mother,
And my mother went to work on the 5th of September. I told her not to go to work. I don't know if each time I said that the same, don't go. But the 5th September, they went to the night shift, and the 6th September, they didn't come again.
come back.
Back. And my father decided then not to go to work. We are lucky because my uncle Alexander was in the resistance outside the wall of the ghetto. And he helped us not to die from hunger, and he helped us to escape from the ghetto. And I will tell you how I escaped.
Yes, this is your escape was an incredible story.
There was a very big, the wall around the ghetto was 3 meters high. And there was a big ladder put for
Against the wall?
Against the wall. And it was in the night. It was in December. I went with my father to the ladder close to the wall, and I have to go step by step to the top of the what?
No, take it.
To the wall. I was 10 years old.
Alone, 10 years old, in the cold.
10 years. So I went alone. My father couldn't come with me. It was very difficult to hide a child on the other side of the ghetto. So it was difficult to.
So who helped you? You said, who were the people who helped you? Were there, your uncle Alexander, and who was the group that helped you?
Excuse me. So I take the. I am going to put like this on each side, to come to the top of the wall. And then it was very high, 3 meters. And what I have to do, I was very afraid. But what can I do? I cannot go back. And so I jumped down to the
floor? On the snow, yeah?
The
snow.
Snow. Yes, excuse me. To the snow. I jumped, and there was a man who was a friend of my uncle Alexander from the resistance, from the Polish resistance. They take me by the hand and very, very as far as
As far as possible.
As
far as possible.
As possible, if can, we went to his place, and his wife was there. She was so kind to me. She kissed me, and she proposed me to have dinner with them. And it was something fantastic to have soup and bread. And this day, this evening, I went to bed and I wasn't hungry. That I remember very well.
And you said...
Je te comprends pas, moi.
You said, you told me how important it was that the non-Jewish Polish resistance helped you so much.
Yes, yes, that was very important because they found, I couldn't stay with people who are so nice to me because the man was arrested and I had to leave this house. And I was wandering during 2 years from house to house, from people more or less kind to me, and what I was happy because my uncle helped my father to live, to escape from the ghetto. But he escaped with people who every day have to go for very big work from the ghetto, to work outside the ghetto. So he was inside the group and he went out the ghetto. This was a possibility to live the ghetto, to live. To live. Excuse my English.
That's very good.
And when I was in the apartment of a couple. They work all the day, so they are out, and I was left in a corner and sitting on a chair. I have a pot with a covercle in another corner and some pieces of bread. And I had, you see, the child so active. I had not to move a lot, not to move at all, not to let people, the neighbors, to know that someone is here. So, and I had to do not a noise.
But you said, Larissa, also that some of the people who saved you were juste. You managed to have them becoming juste, righteous among the nations. Maybe you can mention that.
Yes, one of them, yes. Yes, it's a wonderful story about people, because I was in a family, a mother with 3 girls, 3 daughters, 3
daughters. 3 filles.
Yes.
3 daughters.
Yes. And the youngest was 5 years older than me, and she was very kind to me, and I stayed with them for a long time. But it was also the main thing, that it was very dangerous to have a Jewish child.
A Polish family, right? Une famille polonaise, no?
Yes.
Polish family.
And I couldn't stay a lot with them, but I spent perhaps a few months. And you know, in November 2019, yes, I received a mail. Do you know Alexander Tenenbaum? A mail. It was the name of my uncle. And I said to myself, he survived, perhaps, because I had no news, no about my uncle, no about my father. And I said, perhaps he survived. And it was the family of 5 girls, and and they find me by internet, because I edited 8 books, and my editors received the mail and sent it to me. And so I immediately I went in contact with them, and we, you know, I have nobody, nothing in Poland, and now, until that, the rencontre,
This encounter.
the rencontre, we became a new family. And I write a book about her, about all the story, because it's really a beautiful story. And I asked for them to be just of the
righteous among the people, recognized by the state of Israel, which they did.
Yes, and
Beautiful story.
And yes, and we went all the family. I have 3 children, and my father. We went to
So we can
Poland
can only encourage people to read your books, the many books, the 8 books. Now we're looking for somebody to translate your book in English, right? So it's an appeal. Larissa wrote 8 books in French, which have had much success.
Yes, but I all this I wrote a special book for them, for this story. But all my story is translated in English. And I am looking for an editor.
Exactly.
So if someone is interested.
Exactly. Maybe one among you. But anyway, thank you. I think your English is fantastic. You've done, you know,
Yes.
I mean, I've seen you over the months. It's extraordinary. You took some lessons twice a week to be able to speak English. It's really wonderful, and I think we really need to thank you very much for this testimony, which is so important and so rare. So thank you very much, Larissa, for being with us.
Tu m'as coupé, je voulais le rendre. C'était trop tard.
So thank you very much. I think we're all very grateful and privileged to have you with us and for the journey you've made. I'd now like to invite on stage Hansel Jung, who will play a piece called Donna Donna.
Six candles to remember the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust. Each flame we light is a symbol of memory, resilience, and hope, shining against the darkness of hatred, denial, and indifference. These candles honor the 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust, the millions of other victims of Nazi persecution, and those who have suffered and perished in more recent genocides.
The gates We light this candle for the moment the gates closed. Streets renamed, lives reduced, families pressed on into overcrowded rooms. The ghetto was not a place on a map. It was a daily narrowing of choices. We remembered their first losses: space, safety, and the simple certainty of tomorrow.
Hunger and cold. We light this candle for those who lived with hunger as a constant companion and with cold that settled into bones and breath. We remember the long lines, the empty cupboards, the thin walls, and the quiet desperation of parents trying to protect children. In the ghetto, survival itself became an act of will.
We light this candle for the children of the ghettos, children who learned too early what fear means and how quickly a world can change. We remember their interrupted schooling, their stolen play, their small hands carrying burdens meant for adults. We hold them in our minds as children, not as statistics.
Keeping dignity. We light this candle for those who fought to keep dignity alive, sharing a crust of bread, washing a face, tending the sick, making room for another body to sleep. In the ghetto, kindness was not small, it was defiance. We remember the quiet courage of ordinary people choosing humanity under pressure.
Culture as resistance. We light this candle for resistance without weapons, for teachers who taught, writers who recorded, artists who drew, and historians who hid archives so truth could outlive terror. We remember the courage it took to document names, dates, and stories when erasure was the plan. To remember was to resist.
Uprising and escape. We light this candle for those who resisted openly, through organized defiance, smuggling, secret networks, and in Warsaw, uprising against impossible odds. We remember that resistance also meant rescue, a hand extended, a child guided to hiding, a life carried forward. This flame honors those who fought and those who helped others live to bear witness.
As these candles burn, we pause to reflect, to remember, and to renew our shared commitment to stand firmly against prejudice and hatred in all its forms. If I could ask everyone to be upstanding for a minute's silence to remember those victims of the Holocaust. If everyone could remain upstanding as I ask Rabbi Kudan to come to the stage to recite a traditional Jewish prayer.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים. המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזו הרקיע מזהירים את נשמות 6 מיליון אחינו ואחיותינו שנהרגו על קידוש השם. בעל הרחמים, יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצור בצור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן. Fully compassionate God on high, to our 6 million brothers and sisters murdered because they were Jews, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy forever, enfold them in the embrace of your wings, secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours, they will rest in peace. Amen.
And for our, okay, you can please be seated, thank you. For our final performance, 2 more South Island School pupils will perform, Ernest Ho and Caden Huang will perform Saraband. Thank you.
Dear friends, the Holocaust destroyed the fabric of Jewish life in Europe. As we heard in Madame Cain's testimony, it ripped families apart, forced people into exile, made people destitute and vulnerable. The ferocity of industrial-scale murder wiped out entire communities. Today, we deal with a new set of challenges: Holocaust denial, a lack of knowledge, all kinds of misinformation and fake news, half-truths online. Yet the testimony of Larissa Cain is a symbol that light and knowledge win over darkness and ignorance. Larissa, Olivier, Vanessa, thank you so much for being here with us today in Hong Kong. Thank you. It is our aim at the Hong Kong Holocaust and Tolerance Center to create awareness and educate. This means, first and foremost, providing accurate information and helping students to reflect, think critically, and learn to overcome challenges and differences. That is why we're working with schools and universities, as well as numerous community and religious organizations in Hong Kong, Macau, and further afield. Just last year, we brought together students from China and Japan, did a workshop tour of Buddhist schools, gave talks in the Philippines and Mongolia, conducted workshops for Chinese media journalists and educators, gave lectures on the Nanjing massacre. This year, we will be accompanying Hong Kong students to Cambodia. Our educational projects come in Cantonese, in Putonghua, and in English, and are non-political, non-religious, and open to anyone. We create bespoke content for different schools and age groups. And we're the key partner for in Asia for the world's leading Holocaust and tolerance research institutions. And every year, we organize this Memorial Day. And as you've noticed, and some of our regular attenders will have noticed this, we do so in different locations. That is by design. We have been at the Asia Society, at Dai Kwun, at the Sai Ying Pun Community Center, at City Hall and the JCC, among many other locations over the years, and this year, South Island School. This is part of a deliberate attempt to be relevant and visible all across Hong Kong. And we hope to welcome you at our future events. Our work is only possible because of the generosity and affection of our donors and supporters, to whom we are extremely grateful. Please consider us for a donation so that we can continue to deliver top-notch educational programming. On behalf of all of us, I want to close tonight's event by thanking all the participants in tonight's commemoration: Consul Lati, Deputy Consul Monsieur Aubin, Rabbi David Kudan, the wonderful musicians, the candlelighters from the schools, the English School Foundation, and the South Island School team. Our very special thanks go to the Undersecretary for Home Affairs, Mr. Clarence Leung, and the government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. My sincere gratitude also goes to Mr. Benjamin Fock Chunye for making this event possible, as well as to Cathay Pacific Airways, the official travel sponsor. Lastly, I want to thank a few individuals. Simon Lee, who's there in the back, for working so tirelessly to advance tolerance education in Hong Kong. To Geoffroy Vallier, for his amazing efforts to bring Larissa Cain to Hong Kong. To Mr. John Turner, Principal Helen Thu, Vice Principal Lucy Purvis, Ross Crichton, Gloria Choi, Angus Choi, Lucas Wu, Jackie Chim, and all the Year 12 prefects here at the South Island School. To Rachel Friedman and the Carmel School Association, to the trustees of the Ohalea Synagogue, and to our security and AV teams, in particular to Yevgeny Schenker for taking care of us all here tonight. Thank you all for coming. Good night. And please have a look at the HKHTC website for further events. So thank you all for coming, and thank you.